Ridley Scott's director's cut of Napoleon is very different and more expansive than the theatrical version of the 2023 historical film. Although the original release of the film divided critics and has an underwhelming box office, the common consensus is that Ridley Scott's Napoleon director's cut is better than the theatrical one. Scott's film about one of the most prominent military leaders who ever lived marks his first reunion with actor Joaquin Phoenix since 2000's Gladiator and was his final major directorial release before 2024's Gladiator 2. Napoleon initially received a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 58% and an audience score of 59% upon its November 22, 2023 wide release. Ridley Scott famously snapped back at negative reviewers of Napoleon and other claims from expert historians that point to several noticeable inaccuracies in the film, to which he essentially told them to get a life. Scott largely stood his ground on his status as a renowned filmmaker to take creative liberties for the sake of entertainment, reminding audiences that he did not make a documentary but a motion picture. Scott's comments angered historians by generally disregarding the significance of historical accounts. However, he consulted several experts and Napoleonic biographers when making the film, indicating that he evidently was concerned about painting a fairly accurate picture but more focused on executing an entertaining product. As Scott's Napoleon director's cut counterintuitively accomplished this feat by making the film better with nearly an hour of additional runtime. Despite the mixed critical reception of Napoleon, the film was still nominated for 3 Oscars, including visual effects, production design, and costume design. These aspects of Napoleon are certainly the highlights of both the theatrical version and the director's cut, ultimately resulting in a new product that equally extends and enhances the original movie. Scott still has a version of Napoleon that has a 4-hour runtime, which may take a similar route as Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight extended cut and be released as an episodic limited series. Napoleon's director's cut is 48 minutes longer. Joaquin Phoenix staring into the middle distance in Napoleon. The most obvious difference between Ridley Scott's director's cut and the original theatrical release of Napoleon is the runtime. At 205 minutes long, the extended cut comes in at just under 3.5 hours, which theoretically could have been split up into 4 51 to 52-minute episodes as a limited series. While there was nothing that was notably added to the director's cut of Napoleon, the additional runtime does more authentically convey Scott's original vision in mind. This raises the question of why he was not able to release it as such, considering Killer of the Flower Moon's almost identical runtime of 3 hours and 26 minutes. Josephine has a much richer backstory and character development. Vanessa Kirby whispers to Joaquin Phoenix in Napoleon. Josephine, played by Vanessa Kirby, is given a much bigger and more intimate spotlight in Ridley Scott's director's cut of Napoleon. From the beginning of the extended version, Josephine's backstory is explored in much greater detail, particularly about where she was from and her relationship with her previous husband, Alexander, who was executed at the end of the French Revolution. It also explored how she was influenced by her friend Teresa and how she learned to navigate relationships with men who were in positions of power. The director's cut provides more historical and personal context for Josephine, which helps the audience understand her better than in the theatrical cut. More of Napoleon's insecurities and complexities are explored. Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon looking at Vanessa Kirby as Josephine. While it's no secret that Napoleon had a psychological complex of sorts, the director's cut of Scott's movie spends more time dwelling on those darker and more infrequently portrayed aspects of his character than the theatrical version does. The original version of Napoleon refines the glimpses of the protagonist's sensitivity, vulnerability, and deeply rooted insecurities but does not leave much space to explore these characteristics and flaws after presenting them. The result is a less emotionally developed Napoleon in the original version, while Scott's director's cut gets the most out of the versatile and masterful Joaquin Phoenix and offers more of a complete picture of the humanity of Napoleon. Napoleon's director's cut has greater balance between action and character scenes. Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon Bonaparte in Napoleon. The pace of the Napoleon director's cut is better maintained than that of the original version, which results in a more balanced overall film that more eloquently ebbs and flows between character-oriented and action-based scenes. In this way more than others, Scott's director's cut is truly the most essential way to see Napoleon, especially for viewers who are unable to see the theatrical version. It's a more